Picture this. It's a perfectly ordinary Tuesday morning. You're sitting at your desk, coffee in hand, scrolling through your phone. Traffic hums outside. Planes cruise at 30,000 feet. Surgeons lean over operating tables. 8 billion people go about their lives in 8 billion different ways. And then, in an instant, without warning, every single human being on Earth simultaneously teleports exactly 20 feet to their left. Not forward, not backward, not up or down. 20 feet to your left, relative to the direction you're facing right now. And here's the crucial detail that makes this scenario truly catastrophic. When you teleport, you don't displace the matter at your destination. You merge with it. Air molecules, walls, furniture, other people, whatever happens to be 20 feet to your left becomes part of you in the most horrific way imaginable. Your momentum and velocity remain exactly the same. If you're driving 70 miles per hour, you're suddenly hurtling through the air at 70 miles per hour. There's no magical safety net, no divine intervention. Just the cold, hard physics of 8 billion people suddenly being somewhere they absolutely should not be. Let's start with you, sitting at that desk. If you're lucky, incredibly lucky, 20 feet to your left is empty space. Maybe you materialize in your living room, confused but alive. You'd be one of the fortunate few. Because for the vast majority of humanity, those 20 feet lead straight into a nightmare. Consider everyone in a vehicle right now. There are approximately 1.4 billion cars on Earth's roads, and at any given moment during peak hours, hundreds of millions are in motion. Every single driver just teleported out of their vehicle while maintaining their speed. A person traveling at 60 miles per hour on a highway is now a human projectile, smashing into the pavement or other vehicles at lethal velocity. But that's just the beginning. Those cars don't stop. They continue forward, now driverless missiles careening into buildings, pedestrians, and each other. Within seconds, every major highway on Earth becomes a crushing field of twisted metal and fire. The aviation industry faces an even more apocalyptic scenario. At this very moment, there are roughly 10,000 commercial aircraft in the sky, carrying over 1 million passengers. The pilots sitting in the leftmost seats of most cockpits have just teleported outside their aircraft at cruising altitude. Even if the co-pilot somehow survived by teleporting to a different part of the plane, they can't reach the controls in time. Every single plane goes down. 1 million people plummeting from the sky, while below, 10,000 aircraft rain down on cities, suburbs, and countryside alike. But we're still thinking too small. Let's talk about buildings. In Manhattan alone, 3 million people work in high-rise buildings. Anyone within 20 feet of an exterior wall on any floor above ground level just found themselves in free fall. That's not a few people, that's potentially hundreds of thousands in a single city, falling simultaneously. The streets below become a nightmare beyond description as bodies rain down from every skyscraper. Now multiply that by every city on Earth. Tokyo, London, Shanghai, Mumbai. Every urban center with tall buildings just became a death trap. The conservative estimate, 50 million people falling to their deaths in the first second. And what about the people who teleported into solid objects? This is where our scenario becomes truly grotesque. Remember, matter doesn't displace. If you teleport into a wall, you don't push it aside. You merge with it. Your atoms attempt to occupy the same space as concrete, wood, or steel. The result, instant death if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you might survive for a few seconds with parts of your body fuse into solid matter. Billions of people just became one with walls, floors, furniture, or the ground itself. Let's think about specific situations. Hospital operating rooms where surgeons just teleported away from their patients, some with their hands literally inside another human being. Those patients on operating tables, if they survive their own teleportation, now face certain death from abandoned procedures. Every ICU patient whose life depends on precise positioning of tubes and machines has just been death sentenced. Prisons present their own unique horror. Guards teleport into cells while prisoners might find themselves suddenly free, or worse, merge with the concrete walls of their confinement. Maximum security facilities become charnel houses in an instant. Consider the passengers on cruise ships. These vessels can be over 200 feet wide. Anyone on the right side of the ship just teleported 20 feet over the ocean, plummeting into the water. But here's the thing about falling into water from height: it might as well be concrete. And even if they survive the impact, they're now miles from land with no rescue coming because the crew suffered the same fate. Subway systems worldwide become underground tombs. A subway car is only about 8 feet wide. Everyone inside just teleported into the tunnel walls or onto the tracks, directly in the path of other trains that are still moving because their drivers are gone too. The nuclear power plants present perhaps the most long-term catastrophic scenario. Control room operators have vanished from their posts. While modern plants have automatic safety systems, many require human intervention to prevent meltdown. Within hours, we could see multiple Chernobyls across the globe. But here's perhaps the most insidious aspect of this scenario. Emergency response is impossible. Every ambulance driver, every paramedic, every firefighter, every police officer, they've all been affected too. The hospitals that survived have lost most of their staff who were near windows or walls. The doctors and nurses who remain are dealing with their own injuries from the teleportation. There is no cavalry coming. The death toll in the first minute would be astronomical. Conservative estimates suggest 2 to 3 billion people would die instantly. That's not hyperbole. Think about it. Almost everyone in a vehicle dies. Everyone in a plane dies. Everyone who materialized inside solid matter dies. Everyone who fell from height dies. That's already approaching half of humanity. The survivors face a world that has completely collapsed. Every major city is on fire from vehicle crashes and industrial accidents. The power grid has failed because power plant operators are gone. Water treatment facilities are unmanned. Nuclear plants are counting down to meltdown. Dams might fail without proper management. Chemical plants could release toxic clouds without proper containment. Food distribution has ceased entirely. Every truck driver is dead or injured. Every pilot is gone. Every ship captain who was on the bridge is now in the ocean. The complex supply chains that keep 8 billion people fed have shattered beyond repair. Within days, the survivors would face starvation, dehydration, disease from the billions of corpses that cannot be properly handled, radiation from failed nuclear facilities, and the complete breakdown of human civilization. Some isolated communities might survive, perhaps a small village where everyone happened to be positioned such that 20 feet to their left was safe. But these would be islands of humanity in an ocean of death and chaos. The psychological trauma on survivors would be beyond measure. Everyone would have witnessed death on an unimaginable scale. Children would have seen their parents vanish or die instantly. The very fabric of society, built on trust and cooperation, would be irreparably torn. This is what makes the 20-foot teleportation scenario so uniquely terrifying. It's not a disaster you can prepare for or respond to. It happens everywhere, simultaneously, with no warning and no escape. In a single instant, human civilization as we know it ends. Not with a war, not with a plague, not with an asteroid, but with everyone simply being 20 feet from where they should be. The Earth would recover eventually. Nature would reclaim the cities. Animals would adapt to the new empty world. But humanity? We'd be reduced to scattered bands of traumatized survivors if we survived at all because of 20 feet to the left and 8 billion stories and in a single moment. That's the answer to our question. What would happen if everyone teleported 20 feet to their left? The end of the world as we know it. Complete and utter catastrophe on a scale that defies comprehension. In the span of a heartbeat, civilization collapses. Billions die and the survivors inherit a ruined world. 20 feet. That's all it would take.